Hi, I'm Ryan Davis.
And I'm Kiernan Schmidt.
And this is Out of Office, a travel podcast.
This seat taken. It feels good. The tagline is settling in. I can feel it. It's like it's starting to become like when you get a new pillow, it doesn't feel right. You put your head down on it. And finally, after like 6 weeks, you put your head in and there's actually that indentation.
Yeah, it's so you feel at home with this tagline.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna start stenciling it on T-shirts, on hats, socks. Not to sell or anything, just for myself, because it's really starting to feel like our brand.
So you don't think that it's time to revisit it? You feel like we've got it?
No. People are very happy that it's dead. Yeah, absolutely. In fact, some people will want that tagline cut and just forget about the tagline. A lot of people are out there saying, maybe you don't need a tagline.
Maybe 2019 we'll spend a whole season debating if we should have a tagline or not.
Now, Ryan, this is the first. Of course, last week we gave everybody the extra bonus material from Mark Adams, lots of Alaska adventures. So this is the first time they're hearing us in the new year. So happy 2019.
Happy 2019.
How's it going for you so far?
Oh, it's going all right.
I share that.
Yeah.
Already given up on all the resolutions. It was so sad to take the Christmas tree down. This is just a down time of year.
You take the tree down, I just imagine you just redecorate it for every season.
Well, it's a live tree, so it would just be bare. Yeah, no. Taking the tree down is a whole process. I like to do it on New Year's Day because it really helps you settle into those winter doldrums, that depression. And actually, that is a perfect reason that we should be talking because today's topic, we are talking about how to overcome those post-vacation blues.
Post-vacation blues. You mean when you get back on that Sunday night and you realize in 6 short hours your alarm's going off?
Exactly.
You're gonna get up and head into the office.
Exactly. And I think we all know that feeling when you've been out on a trip, you have that return ticket. You're kind of hoping the flight gets canceled because then you get another day. You can call your office and be like, oh, the airlines and the weather, it's not my fault. But then, enjoy another margarita on the beach. Well, this is not about that. This is about the transition from travel mind, vacation mind, back into working mode.
Ooh, this is going to be a fun episode for the new year.
Before we dive in, though, I do want to ask, did you have any resolutions this year?
I have a couple resolutions this year, as I always do.
Excellent.
One of them is to hit the gym 3 times a week.
Okay, and that's up from
0 times a week.
Or are you dialing it down?
You've been
really hitting it hard 7 days a week and dial it back to 3.
Well, I've been paying for the gym 7 days a week. There's no question. But in terms of going to the gym, 0 times a week. But you look at that membership card, it makes you feel like you're doing something for yourself, though, And
when you're at the gym, do you listen to podcasts or you listen to music?
I listen to pretty much just Freakonomics. Yeah.
Really? Yeah. Freakonomics? That sounds like a terrible...
That's my workout jam, I'm like, woohoo, and it really gets you going on the treadmill when they start talking about, various kind of economic theories.
Incentives to go to the gym. I mean, that seems like a prime topic.
They release a lot of episodes, so it keeps me going.
I do a lot of political podcasts because I find that I get really heated about the political situation. It makes me want to run away from the country. So I just run. And that really gets me in my mode, in the zone.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on the podcast. It's got to be one that gets your blood going there.
Yeah, it's not the Weeds. Weeds, not a workout podcast.
No.
That's
a great podcast, though. Great podcast.
It's a fine podcast. I think they're a little above us in the iTunes rankings. I think we're just right next to each other. So one day...
We're closer to the Ezra Klein podcast, a little further from Weeds. It's
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. And never music at the gym?
No, I wouldn't say never music, but I don't listen to that much music unless I'm like walking around town. I'm mostly a podcast guy.
I thought we were Broadway fans. What's going on? That's a key part of our brand. That's a brand pillar that we're always bringing Broadway into it, theater.
I'm always listening to Broadway when I listen. When Spotify put out my top songs for 2018, it was a really nice mix of Broadway and alt country. Essentially, it was It was maybe the strangest combination. It was like Hamilton and Jason Isbell.
You know, we never agreed that alt country would be a major topic of the podcast, but yet it seems to come up almost every week. You love alt country.
I mean, alt country is apparently one of my things. I listened to a lot of alt country last year and a lot of show tunes.
Why is it alt country? It feels like it's just country at this point.
Because it's like urban liberal country, you know, so they sing about it's a little different. It's like Johnny Cash if he was still with us, you know?
Yeah. Oh, well, R.I.P. Rest in prison.
Peace.
No, prison, you know, because he did the show. Yeah. Thank you. And other resolutions?
I want to, yeah. Well, no.
No. I can tell there's something there. Let's dig those depths. What do you got?
I want to practice my Spanish. I want to become much more fluent in Spanish this year.
We all agree that would be very helpful to you. You go to Mexico City with great frequency, but your Español, no bueno.
No habla español. No.
You should say no hablo español.
See? Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm already messing it up.
All right. Yeah. So we will start with conjugation. And why don't you do Duolingo?
I have done that, but it teaches you things like, Fred has 3 cats and 2 potatoes. You know, it's just not stuff you use in conversation very often.
Tres gatos y 2 papas. Qué bien.
Sí, muy bien.
Es perfecto.
Lucky Fred.
I'm often, my friend Fred really needs to get out more. He's always talking about those potatoes. And so you're going to get the Espanol. Any other travel-related resolutions? Learning Spanish is a pretty big one.
Yeah, that seems like a good travel-related.
I think that seems like a great A block for our future podcast. We check in on how you're doing on your Spanish language training.
Totally. And I will speak Spanish with you from the treadmill. That is how dedicated I am.
Oh, that's a great idea. You could move from podcast working out to translation or language learning working out.
Well, there are podcasts that do language learning, so I could do a little both.
All right, fantastic. I think that is a fantastic resolution. I have a resolution this year. It is extremely targeted.
It's to make sure you go to every holy day of obligation.
I mean, I already do that, so that I don't need, a resolution's usually when you want to change something, and on that record, I'm quite perfect. So, and for those who don't know, a holy day of obligation is a holy day within the Catholic Church's calendar where you are required to go to church, and it's not on a Sunday. So you get to make a special trip to church. So it's a wonderful time. And so an example of that would be like the Immaculate Conception. Now, Ryan, you grew up Catholic. What is the Immaculate Conception?
The Immaculate Conception is how Mary got impregnated by God. It was immaculate.
That is actually completely wrong. That's what everybody thinks the Immaculate Conception is. That is not what the Immaculate Conception is. The Immaculate Conception is when Mary was conceived by her mother, Anne. Because
that's not true.
It is 100% true.
We got to have a biblical scholar on to this is going to be a major recalculating for you, I think.
No, I want to get your live reaction. Wikipedia right now, Immaculate Conception, and you are going to be shocked. This is a common misconception. If anything, we need a Catholic spinoff because I got plenty to say here.
All right, folks. Hold on 1 second. Is the conception of the Virgin Mary free from original sin by the merits of her son, Jesus?
That's right. So it was predestined that she was going to have Jesus. So it was an immaculate conception by her mother because she does not have sin.
That's amazing. So I actually have been using that term wrong my entire Catholic life.
Most people are going out throwing around immaculate conception. This is why you got to go to the holy days of obligation. You learn all sorts of things.
Yeah. Well, was Anne also assumed into heaven, or did she have to, die and be buried like everybody else?
That I couldn't tell you.
Thought you were the Anne scholar over here. All right.
Well, let's. I think let's get our Ambien ready. Is Ambien? Is that a depression? What's an antidepressant?
Probably make you a little more depressed.
What's an antidepressant?
I know this.
Okay.
Paxil, right. Prozac,
well, listen,
all sorts
let's get our Paxil and Prozac out and tell the cabin crew it's time to explore depression.
Let's take off.
Let's take off.
What a cabin crew announcement. You never want your cabin crew to be depressed.
I'm getting word that the cabin crew killed themselves. They're slitting their wrists with tiny broken bottles of booze. those little teeny bottles.
Yeah.
If you had to kill yourself on an airplane, how would you do it?
Probably just question. I would drink the water in the bathroom. I think that kills you immediately.
Probably just pull the door, right? Fly out.
I think if you actually, I would just use my phone. I think that actually destroys the plane, right?
Oh, yeah, that's right. That messes up the whole navigation system, and you immediately drive into a mountain.
Flight attendants, prepare for takeoff, please.
All right, Ryan. So today we are talking about, when you're in a funk on the way back from a trip. Have you experienced this before?
Yeah, but sometimes it's alcohol induced. It's like it's hard to hit what's a really bad hangover versus just depression from going home back to New York.
That's funny because that is on my list of potential solutions is alcohol.
Really?
So
that's on all my list of potential solutions. So it's a solid one to start with. For
all right,
sure.
we're definitely gonna make sure this episode gets to your analyst. So I know that I really fight, I really keep track when I'm on a trip of when the halfway point is. That halfway point it looms large. Because when you're in the first half, you get to feel like, oh my God, I still have so much ahead of me.
Right. I actually know this point in a trip when you hit that halfway point and you start going like, oh, I'll be home any day now. And
yeah, right. And you during quiet moments, you count on your hand how many days, and then you quickly go this many hours, and then I sleep for this many hours on the trip, and so I have an awake adventure time of this long, and it just keeps getting smaller and smaller, and my stress starts growing and growing.
And then the emails start coming in, and it's like, basically back at work. Yeah.
Yeah, because they see you're out of office, and they see that the date that you're returning is right around the corner, and so you start getting back in the loop. Even though I don't want to be back in the loop, I'm out of the loop.
You want to be out of the loop until you walk in that morning.
And I do think you can get away with not answering the emails, but that first day can be a real humdinger if you haven't opened your email the whole time. So often, as I'm approaching, I do start checking the emails, and it's a doom loop. You're starting checking the cycles. You started checking your email. And then you're back in work, even though you're sitting pretty in a great international museum. You're back at work. So Ryan, I have what I call the emotional cycle of traveling. That I think when you're doing your pre-trip planning, and even when you're on your trip, you should be thinking through these emotional states so that you can plan in solutions all along the way.
Is this a PowerPoint you're about to give us? Or?
No, it's not a PowerPoint. It's a simple circular diagram that you can draw yourself. Loop. So everybody get out a piece of paper and a magic marker. We'll wait for a moment. All right, Ryan, you have yours?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Hold it up. I can see that you're lying because it's audio. Okay, now you actually have it. Oh, God, what has that marker been through? Is that blood on the marker? Oh, my Lord. What? Oh, it's a nightmare. Okay, so it begins with anticipation. Right? Anticipation is pre-trip. This is one of my favorite parts. This is the planning session. My wife says that I'm one of the best people she knows at anticipating a trip.
Anticipation is one of my favorite emotions. There's no doubt.
So we go from anticipation, where you're reading books, you're getting excited, you're telling all your friends, you're sending the pre-out of office message. Hey, FYI, I'm going to be out soon. And then you're on the trip and you are enjoying yourself. This is enjoyment. So we've gone from anticipation to enjoyment.
And you allow yourself to enjoy a trip? You give yourself that, like a window there of enjoyment? An ever narrowing window of enjoyment.
I mean, it is ever narrowing because even the planning phase is starting to leak further and further into the trip. I find like I'm well into the trip and I'm still corresponding with people that I'm setting up tours and things on. So I do have to work on lengthening the enjoyment, the enjoyment phase. So I appreciate that. So then with the enjoyment, this is building all the way up through to that midpoint of the trip that we were talking about. So then we hit the midpoint and then dread. This is growing dread. Just trying now I'm actively trying to enjoy myself. I'm telling myself, be in the moment, stop thinking ahead.
That's always a great way to be in the moment when you constantly reaffirm to yourself you should be in the moment, it really makes you feel like you're there.
Well, how else are you in the moment?
I'm more zen than you. I'm just sort of like, I'm naturally in moments. But
I am trying to do some of those meditation apps about breathing. I'm doing a lot more breathing these days.
Yeah,
like the other day,
there's some good ones.
The other day, a flight got canceled, and I just breathed.
Yeah.
And the anger at the flight attendant, at the desk person, just went right away.
Yeah, I mean, it's important to take a breath and just,
Have you done those meditation apps?
I have. I've used an application called Breather, actually, which is funny.
So it's all about breath.
It is all about breath. Yeah, and I've used. Yeah, it's good for like sleep. I like to sleep listening to like a nice go to sleep meditation.
Why not just do like white noise if you're going to do that?
No, I don't really like that. I usually like maybe to do like there's some certain podcasts, I don't want to name names, that I find to be incredible for sleep, and they're not always meant for that.
No.
So.
Name names. Say all our competitors. Rick Steves.
No. I find the Sam Harris podcast to be like an ASMR. It's just so calming. It's so calming. Because he'll be saying, he'll get into like a 40-minute kind of like dull, monologue about something, and then you just fall right asleep. It's incredible. I recommend it. And it's 3.5 hours long, so you get, no matter how long it takes you to sleep, Sam's going to be there with you.
Maybe we should do a whole episode that is ASMR. Is that right? Is it ASMR?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, it's ASMR. It's going to be all about traveling across the world.
And only whispering.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. You don't have to tell me because I'm doing it. So I already knew what it was.
Yeah, I don't know that this is something we should do. It's a little creepy.
I actually think a podcast about the Immaculate Conception in these voices would be just right.
Excuse me, is this seat taken?
Oh, you just made the tagline so much creepier. Maybe that's what I should do at the beginning. Is this seat taken?
I think we should record an entire episode in the Amtrak quiet car. I think that would be really good.
Oh, that's really
audio.
Funny. Yeah. A live recording from the quiet car. Hey, quiet car. We're coming to you live from the quiet car. We just got back from the bar cart. I'm sucking down my Sam Adams. Ryan, what do you have there?
One of these hot dogs. I'm obsessed with. They're totally mushy, but for some reason delicious.
That's because they're the only food for 90 miles around. All food is eliminated from near the Amtrak station.
This is true.
All right, well, this is a great new idea we have. Okay, all right, back to the cycle. We got anticipation, enjoyment, then we're in dread, growing dread. And then, now for me, I think for different people, depression might start soon. For me, depression starts right when I get on the transportation back. And sometimes it starts at the transportation hub, train station, plane station. Plane station? So is that what us travelers are calling them these days? You got to be at the plane station.
Yeah. So you mean like even the checking in, and they make you check in 24 hours early, so it's just rubbing your face in it,
Exactly. Actually, that's a great tip that we could, once we start our travel consulting business off the success of this podcast, I would have that's a great idea for airlines. Don't send out that check-in email until 12 hours before. Everyone's up 12 hours before. We don't need these full 24 hours.
24 hours. I mean, this is not, 1976. We've been flying for a while. We get the check-in process.
Can you imagine though with Southwest, because you know how they give you the seats? They give you your boarding class based on when you check in. So the second the check-in is open, people flood right into it. So if you only have 12 hours, people are going to be knifing each other in order to get that high class.
I think you need to do an episode on how to effectively fly low or budget airlines, because your experience with WOW is one of my favorite travel stories. And now you know about Southwest. It's they board like a Greyhound.
I don't understand why. Why are you pretending that you are some like luxury travel here? You take cheap flights.
I have flown Interjet, which is the WOW of Mexico, so many times.
I've never even heard of Interjet. Presumably there it's known as Interjet. Interjet?
No. I mean, they have flights like 267 round trip out of JFK to Mexico City. It doesn't get much cheaper than that. That's like,
Wow.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
They
Wow.
should have considered wow. Yeah, it's wow level.
Yeah.
They should call it Dios mío. Dios mío. That's a cheap flight. So when does the depression tend to hit you?
Well, there's always that low level of depression.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
separating
No.
that
I'm talking about trip related depression.
Yeah, no, I think, I'm with you. The last sort of quarter of the trip, I start to feel that dread, and there's definitely like a level of that. No matter what I see, I'm standing in a beautiful cathedral, and I'm thinking to myself, God, in 4 days, I'm going to be in an all hands conference call. That really brings down the enjoyment of.
The second you just said conference call, and the hairs on the back of my neck stood up. But there's you just picture. I was in grad school for 2 years. I don't think I was in a conference call the whole 2 years. My first day at the new job, I had to put in one of those host codes that's 30 digits long.
Right,
and that voice came on, the same voice every conference line called that said, until the other members of your conference call join, you will be listening to music. And I felt the weight of the world just came back on my shoulders.
At least it was great music, though. It's always the highest quality.
No, it is the
most
best.
Beautiful music.
It's the best alt country that the conference line could afford.
Hey, I would start a good alt country conference line service if there's folks out there,
Don't give all our ideas away for free. We're going to say make check-in shorter, and on your hold line, alt country, all the time.
All the time.
So you're deep into the depression, and can I tell you though? Once I was deep into the depression phase. We were within 24 hours of the flight. Catherine and I were in Mexico City, actually.
There you go.
Your favorite.
Yeah.
And we got a cancel. This was the perfect situation. We got a cancellation. We were automatically rebooked to 24 hours after that, so we were only missing 1 day of work. The hotel said, yep, we've got your same room open for tomorrow, same price, totally reasonable. And we had restaurants and museums that we hadn't gotten to see in the week that we had been there. And so we were just able to have a wonderful extra day. And I will tell you, that springs enjoyment maybe even higher than where the enjoyment was the previous part of the trip.
That's a bonus day. That's like a snow day when you're a kid. That's like as good as it gets, right? I mean,
yeah. So I wonder if there's a way. I haven't cracked the code, but I feel like there will be some innovation where we can make that happen, where maybe like a service pops up that lets you rebook just a day later at the same price or something, and you can give yourself a bonus day.
Yeah, I mean, hotels should start, instead of saying, do you want to check out, it should say, do you want to stay an extra day?
Bonus day.
Yeah. Gosh,
bonus
so
day.
good at this.
This is a great idea. Okay, so we are now at towards the end of the cycle. This is the very last one. Are you ready? This is why it's a cycle. We started at anticipation. Post-depression, my first recommendation for how you fight these post-trip blues, head directly back in to anticipation.
And how do you do that? You just start planning another trip?
You should be researching your next trip while you're on your current trip. I think that's bad
advice.
No,
it's the opposite of living in the moment.
No,
you're in the Louvre. You're in the Louvre booking your British Museum tickets. You're a lunatic.
That's
what's wrong with you?
No, that's exactly what you should be doing, because that's how you break this emotional cycle from anticipation, enjoyment, growing, dread, depression, anticipation. This way, you get right out of depression, because once you feel that dread growing, you are booking onto that next trip. You are straight onto anticipation. This is a great idea.
I mean, it just depends how many vacation days you got, I guess. But if you have enough where you can do that.
No. But Ryan, this is what out of office stands for. You don't have to be taking some big fancy schmancy. You don't have to be flying like Ryan.
It could be
Davis,
a day trip.
First class and British Airways. No way. You could do a day trip. You could just be booking an interesting museum close to your own home. Maybe a restaurant you've been meaning to get around to. One of those things that we talk about in the last stop. This is anticipation.
You know what? That is actually more specific, and I think really good advice. Book a small little thing, like not too far away from when you get back, and that'll give you that little travel bump right after your depression.
I don't like how when I say the exact thing, you go, no, that's dumb, you're an idiot. And then you say it, just back at me. And it's like it's yours.
No, but I made it work. I took what you said that didn't really work And I think I enlightened their listeners a bit. I think that they are all like having that aha moment now.
You know, you said the same thing about Adventure in Your Ears. And I will remind you, its tagline is, "The seat taken."
Yeah, just a lot of folks are upset about that. We don't have to get into it. Yeah, there's a Adventure in Your Ears.
It's growing. That's gonna be our graphic novel. All right. Yeah. So I have several other fixes for how I treat my post-vacation depression. Anything you want to throw in?
I think that these 8 cover some of mine as well, and I'm going to jump in and again enlighten our listeners when you fail to explain them well.
Yeah, as Ryan mentioned, we have 8 perfect solutions for how to fight your post-vacation depression. The first is you got to book that next trip. Ryan is saying it can just be anything that you anticipate. We have a slight disagreement on that. I think it should be at the level of a trip or day trip. He seems to think that, if you book a, grooming for your dog, that'll be something that helps you through the depression.
No, I'm thinking like immersive theater experience or, something like that. Yeah.
All you need is an alt country immersive theater experience.
Don't think I'm not working on it, folks.
What would you call it? Quickly.
Opera world. I don't even know. That's oof.
Oh wow.
I'll circle back.
Okay. Looking for a podcast host, folks. This seat not taken. Got a mic. Got an extra chair right across the way. All right, Ryan. Number 2, if you haven't booked something to anticipate, another way to fight post-trip depression is to write up your experience. This is something I started doing maybe 3-4 trips ago, where within the week that I get back from a trip, I sit down and even just in quick bullet points, I write up kind of what the highlights of the day were. Is this like journaling? Like, is this in a one thing that you go back to? Is it?
Yeah.
So what I actually do is I go to the Google Doc that I was doing all the planning in, that already has the hotels, that already has some of the activities, and I just quickly note just memories that I have. The car broke down. I this is where I had that most delicious meal. This hotel was great. This hotel wasn't great. And, it's great to do it while you still have it fresh in your mind.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense. And so you go back and you do that. And do you go revisit it sometimes or
I have from time to time. It's been particularly helpful when somebody who I travel with says, "Hey, do you remember this time?" And that, I'll of course remember the general episode they're talking about, but it's so cool to be able to go back to the document and give all this extra history that had been lost to those neurons that weren't firing every day. You don't remember all of these trips pristinely.
No, and thanks to you, you've got your whole itinerary, added bonus points of what you thought of, bullet points for what you thought of everything. I think you've. Maybe it's a little bit too much, Kiernan.
Do you ever write up your experiences? I wonder that, because there have been a couple trips that I forgot to go back and do it, and I really regret it, actually, because I feel like it keeps it fresher.
Yeah, I definitely have written up some of my experiences traveling. I also find it really fun to reminisce about trips with people you went on years ago, as a way to bring that back, and that might be. It might be a trip you took 5 or 6 years ago, and when you have lunch or drinks or whatever with that friend that you went with or that family member, it's fun to be able to tell those stories, even if you don't have it all written down. It's a good way to bring that. But just keep in mind,
if you were doing what I do and you had that written document, that would be, you could bring so much new information to those drinks.
It's true.
I mean, you mention alcohol so much, I have to think that you're mostly going, oh, remember when we were hungover in that hotel and I left a suit in the closet because I had to run for my flight on Interjet? All right. Now, the third suggestion for overcoming post-vacation depression is somewhat related, and I think everybody really does this, which is culling and editing the photos that you've brought back. So,
how quickly do you do that after a trip?
I start when I'm on the plane on the way back, because usually you don't have internet and you're getting bored with the movie, and the guy next to you is asleep, so you can't get up and go to the bathroom. So I take out my phone and I start to kill out all the extra photos because, that just takes up huge amounts of memory. And it's a great way to relive the trip.
And where do you publish photos nowadays of your trips? Because I've noticed that people are using Facebook less and less for that. I do some on Instagram, but I don't publish that many. Where do most of them go?
Well, I do publish them on Instagram while I'm on the trip. I will sometimes do a throwback once I'm back in the office. But really, I think you can only get away with one of those.
I agree. Yeah.
Because I think if you're still talking about Bermuda and you've been like, in planning meetings for the last 8 weeks with your vendors, Bermuda's over, man. Get past the depression. It's time to live in the present.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think you only have 1 week where you have that window to actually post all those photos. But do you print photos still? Do you keep any physical sort of photos?
No, I don't print any. I don't keep any physical, but I do put the ones that I want to be safe in case I lose my phone or, either in the cloud on Apple through the iCloud or on Google Photos. I use Google Photos.
I've been toying with the idea of getting more of those little Instagram photos. They stick to your wall.
Yeah,
and I think it would be fun to do one of those for like every trip you go on, and then by the end of your life, you've got this massive wall full of just little tiny memories, and you can be like, "That's when I went to, Costa Rica." And
that's a great idea. Unless your life is very short, in which case that's going to be a really small wall, and it's going to be really sad when you die for whoever has to take that down.
Yeah, but you won't know, so it's what are you going to do?
Well,
you've enjoyed it.
You don't know if you don't know.
Oh, this is a big question to get in here, folks. So number 4. The fourth thing that we recommend when you get back, you're getting those post-vacation doldrums, is to invite your friends out for happy hour or for a coffee to basically brag about your trip and tell them how fantastic it was.
Yeah, but you need a pretense. Hey, just back in town, want to grab a drink? I've missed you, something like that. And I don't think you can let them know that this is the agenda.
No, because it can't be like the focus of your hangout, but
right.
When you hang out with them, you get to tell them about how great the trip was. You get to make them jealous and put a little travel bug in their ear too. I think it makes them more likely to want to go on a trip themselves.
Yeah, and and you should tell them about the podcast also. But
of course,
this actually plays very well into the Instagram additional week that we're giving people to post a photo, because if you set this up within that week, you could put it on Instagram earlier in the day before you see these people, and that will prompt one of them to go, "Oh, Ryan, do I remember correctly? Weren't you just somewhere?" And that's your opening. That's when the drinks are over for everybody else. Now you're taking out your phone, you're showing them the photos, you're pulling the Google Doc, you're sharing the Google Doc. Oh, you got to go to all the places we went. It was so great. This is excellent.
What's really funny is one of my go-to things to say to someone if there's a long conversation, especially in New York, this works great, is to say, "Didn't you just get back from somewhere?" It almost always leads to a lively story from the other person.
But I have done that and had the person go, "No." And then
you live in Boston, I live in New York, so it's different.
Oh, come now. They've recently been to a Patriots game. I don't. You'll be able to tell from whatever piece of gear they're wearing. It's either Bruins, Red Sox, or Patriots. All right. Well, number 5. Now, this one I like. That I'm a big fan of cooking here. I really like to come back and cook a dish that I've had or learned about wherever I was traveling. And that's a great way to, it can be a great source for bringing a souvenir. You could bring back a spice or some sort of oil that you can only get in that place. And then treat yourself, maybe your loved ones, to a meal that reflects the experience you've just had.
Yeah, I don't cook, so this is not on my list. So when I got back from Turkey, I had this, amazing craving for this Turkish pizza that I had. When I was in Istanbul, that I went out and had a lovely Turkish meal. And so I feel like that's a similar idea to yours, except this I get to go out and eat, and I don't have to learn how to cook Turkish food on my own.
Fair enough. And I do think that is taking advantage of New York City for sure, because you could find a restaurant, an outpost of almost any type of cuisine.
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's very lucky. It's a major thing that I miss about New York. Now
I'm sure there's a Turkish restaurant in Boston. There must be one.
Well, I wasn't talking about Turkish. I was talking about, when you're fresh back from Bhutan, I don't think, you're rolling out to the Bhutanese grocery store to eat chili pepper stew.
No. But I'm sure there's like an Irish pub that has like, a Bhutanese, something on the menu that would bring you way back.
Is to give people the gifts you got them. So the souvenirs you bought for people. That's also a great way to kind of say, I'm sorry if you've set up a drinks and coffee to brag. maybe bring them a postcard or like a little trinket toy and go,
Right.
because you have sat here for the last 5 hours while I talked about my trip and showed you every single photo. Now I bestow upon you a small gift that I brought back for whoever I duped into this.
Here's a Thai shot glass I bought in the airport on the way home.
Always with
5
the
to a pack.
alcohol. What do you bring? You bring gifts home for your mother? Ever for friends?
No, I don't want to set that precedent.
Agreed.
Like
Agreed. Now, Ryan, number 7, I believe, is something you care quite passionately about.
Absolutely. I think it is so important to, if you can, to schedule a buffer day between arriving home and having to go back from the real world. And this can be like a weekend day, although those are not as good. But if you can take like the Monday off to kind of regroup, to get it all together after a trip, it makes that sort of going back into the office so much easier, not as stressful, and you get you can kind of decompress. So I think that makes all the difference in the world because, like I said, there's nothing worse than flying across the world, getting off a 3 a.m. flight, and then rolling into the office at 9 o'clock, looking like you've just flown from Greece or something.
I mean, for what it's worth, you always look like that. But I will say, not a big fan of the buffer day. In theory, I really like this recommendation. But when I'm really looking at the limited time off, I want to spend an extra day wherever I've gone. So I don't know that this buffer day is as essential. I think that this is one where if you find that a buffer day helps you fight this post-vacation depression, then you absolutely should schedule it in every time. I want to be a person who puts this in, but I find it very hard. It's always very tempting to book so that like my flight lands 20 minutes before I'm supposed to be in the office.
No, if you can take a work from home day on that day, that's a good way to split the difference.
That is a perfect idea. So if you can work from home and not use another vacation day. However, I will say, if I saw coworkers do this, I'd be walking around going, "Oh, did you see Jim? Jim decided not to come in today after his week of vacation." Seems like,
I've been known to take vacation day to that Thursday and then do that work from home Friday. Right into that weekend.
Oh wow, isn't that convenient? And you probably claim that you're working from home, but in fact you're wherever you were vacationing.
Well, home is it's a concept. I don't even know where my home. I feel at home in many places. So I think the spirit of working from home is something I meet all the time.
I think the ethics of the work from home is a great idea for a future episode. So we are just churning them out today. For Fantastic's going on the list. And okay, finally, Ryan. Now this one's pretty serious.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is like if you're back from that trip and the depression's not going away. Maybe it's been a week, 2 weeks. This is when it's time to go talk to somebody and get some medication.
You mean something beyond just a vitamin D in your multivitamin?
Yes, that's what I mean. Yep. Yeah. I think this is if you're failing to build that anticipation. Even for small things that you can look forward to, maybe a book that you're looking forward to reading, or just studying a place that maybe you could dream of going in 2-3 years. No matter what your circumstances, medication is a great way to treat depression.
Yeah, so we here at Out of Office, we have friends and family who've definitely struggled with this. I've struggled with anxiety. We are super pro going to get help when you need it.
Absolutely. Now, Ryan, have you ever used medication to fight post-vacation blues?
Not specifically post-vacation blues, no. But
just general blues.
Just general blues. Yeah, but I've had a glass of wine in the Delta Lounge and been trying to get over my post-vacation blues before.
Yeah, this is good.
That's self-medicating.
No,
yeah.
Self-medication is definitely part of it. I will say anytime that Catherine notices that I'm starting to get anxious and depressed, she always Googles, is there a brewery somewhere near us? And this includes in the Denver airport, Fat Tire, which is a pretty good brewery, has a outpost right there. And one time she got me just absolutely wasted. And let me tell you, my depression went right away. It was wonderful.
Yeah, there's nothing like just high calorie IPA, to really just remind you why you're alive.
So in conclusion, number 8 is both self-medication through alcohol and other over-the-counter or readily available mind-altering drugs. And the two is go and get professional help, because at Out of Office, sometimes we reveal our politics here. And Ryan, you and I both believe in mental health awareness.
We absolutely do. Yeah, and we'll have a link in the show notes that folks can get help if they need it.
Yeah, and what's that link going to be to? We'll find a good organization. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We'll put it there. And
I think we have to be responsible media makers.
But Kiernan, this is a good moment for to ask people, all of our fans and listeners out there, maybe stop diagnosing us. We're fine. We're fine.
Kiernan speaks for himself, and help me. No, I'm also fine.
Oh, Lord. All right, Ryan. Well, I think we've done a great job at helping people break the cycle from anticipation to enjoyment to growing dread to depression to anticipation. You just got to build in that anticipation, and we've given you 8 handy ways that you can tackle that post-trip depression.
So, to sum it all up, the tactics for fighting post-vacation depression. Number 1, immediately start planning that next trip or day trip. Number 2, write up your experience. Number 3, curate those photos and publish them. Number 4, brag to your friends or family about how much fun you had. Number 5, cook a dish you ate or you learned about, or if you're me, go to a restaurant. Number 6, give people the gifts you got them. That means go see your mom. Number 7, schedule a buffer day between traveling in the real world or work from home. And number 8, seek professional help.
Or just a good bottle of beer. Also, all that stuff about going to visit your mom, I'm not sure you're one to talk. I seem to remember someone not going home for Christmas.
Oh, that is not fair. I will post pictures of me with my family on Christmas on the old Out of Office podcast,
Instagram. And what's the handle for that again?
Podcast. Who can forget? Podcast. Podcast.
At Podcast with 3 O's.
Yes, it begins with @ If you didn't know that, you're probably not on Instagram.
All right, Ryan. I think that it's time for the last stop.
The last stop.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the last stop on this train. Everyone, please leave the train.
So the last stop, as loyal listeners know, is the final segment in our show where Ryan and I each talk about something that we've read or saw or tasted or smelt that helped us feed our wanderlust, keep the spirit of travel alive. So Ryan, what is your last stop this week?
Well, I recently went with my friend Adam Thompson, who's a listener to the podcast, up to
Hello, Adam.
Hey, Adam. Up to Grant's Tomb, which is in northern Manhattan, up by Columbia University. And that's where Ulysses S. Grant and his wife, Julia, are buried in this massive tomb, which is actually the largest mausoleum in North America. So it's pretty epic.
Yeah.
And I had never been before, and it has incredibly weird hours. Like it's open for 40 minutes and it's closed for 15 minutes and it opens again for 6 minutes. It's very complicated. So you got to check out the website to make sure you get the right sort of hours that it's open. And I would recommend going kind of earlier in the day when it's very bright, because it is a tomb. So the later you go, the darker it gets throughout the day. So in the morning when the sun is out and it's nice and shiny, you can see a lot of stuff going on in there. When I was there with my friend Adam, it was about 4:00, and it's New York, so the sun goes down at noon these days. So they give you a flashlight so you can actually see.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's like a flashlight tour, and it was literally just Adam and I. No one else was there for a whole half an hour, and we got to walk around. You see the tombs. Because there was nobody there, they let us sort of go downstairs and see some of the little statues that they've built of other Civil War generals that Grant admired and that he worked with. Kind of a little bust of them sort of surround the two coffins, which are epic, and it's really an impressive. It's impressive architecture. It's got these really kind of strange murals that the woman from the Parks Department explained had been built during the era of, reimagining the Civil War. So they had Robert E. Lee and Ulysses S. Grant sort of like smiling at each other, shaking hands, something that never happened.
A little wink.
Yeah, a little wink. So, there's interesting things like that, but it's a beautiful monument. And Ulysses S. Grant loved New York, and he said that New York City always treated him well throughout his entire career, and that's where he wanted to be buried.
And does it have an open bar?
It does not have an open
given
bar.
given that it was Grant.
I made a joke about Grant's drinking in the national park. Woman not into the joke.
No,
she said it was overblown, and how could he have drank so much while he was in leading the Union Army to victory? And I was thinking, like, I don't know, you can probably have a lot of time at night to have a few drinks.
Yeah, I think it seems like it was pretty well documented, and Lincoln famously was like, "Hey, this guy's this good a general on drink, great."
Right.
Get the same liquor to all the other generals, please.
Right.
I actually think setting up a little portable bar right on the river there, next to the tomb, that is a great idea.
I think they could honor his birthday every year with just everybody just sipping whiskey out of a flask.
Remind me, I have been though not on the national parks tour of it. And where exactly is it?
It is on Riverside Drive and West 122nd. So basically, you go up to Columbia and you walk west.
So quite high up Manhattan, but almost right on the river.
Yeah, it's as close to the river as you can be without being in the river. It's right there.
All right, that sounds like an interesting trip. Well, my last stop this week, I'm going to say what it is, and then I want to know if you have heard of it. Okay.
Okay.
My last stop is Zhoug.
Zhoug?
Zhoug.
Z-O-O-G? Zhoug?
Z-O-U-G. Zhoug.
Okay, well that is that looks. I don't know what that is. A Zhoug.
Okay, Zhoug, Z-H-O-U-G, is a cilantro-based condiment. Some people call it like a Middle Eastern pesto, but it's significantly spicier than that. And it has cilantro and canola oil and jalapenos and chilies and garlic and cardamom and sea salt and cumin seeds. It's just the most delicious, spicy food. And it is Yemenis.
Really?
Yes. Yemenis? Yemeni? It is Yemeni.
Yemeni? Yemenis.
I'll tell you what it is. It's Yemeni for sure. So you might be asking, where do I get Zhoug?
Where do you get Zhoug?
Thank you. So weirdly enough, I read about this dish in Bon Appetit. It is a new addition to Trader Joe's. And they now serve this condiment. It's over by the hummus. It's over by the yogurt. You've probably walked by it 1,000 times. And because Bon Appetit is for food snobs, it just shocked me that they would put Trader Joe's on here. So I got a small container of it, brought it home. Catherine and I are completely addicted, and we've been looking up recipes for how we could make Zhoug on our own, and just decided, you know what, the Trader Joe's version is so good, let's just load up on the Zhoug. So right now in my refrigerator, I have a corner that is a tribute to the Yemeni people, and it is just a column of Zhoug.
And what do you put your Zhoug on? What do you enjoy?
What do you not put Zhoug on would be an easier thing to answer. You got crackers, eggs. You could put it on top of vegetables. We've done it on butternut squash. We've done it on sweet potato. We've done it on top of just greens. So it's almost like a little dressing because it's a little bit loose and soupy. Ryan, this Zhoug could change your life. I am a Zhoug dude.
Zhoug Dude. I'm excited to try Zhoug. It sounds like it could be a replacement for the hot sauce I put on everything. So I could just, have my little Zhoug, put it on my breakfast burrito, put it on my eggs, No?
And you're not a person who tastes cilantro as like soapy, right?
No, I love cilantro.
Okay, good. Because obviously, if you're one of those, I think it's like 1 in 5 or 1 in 10 people think cilantro tastes like soap. If that's true,
really, it's like the asparagus melon thing.
Yes, actually, interesting thing about that is that there are actually 2 genes at play when it comes to smelling the difference in pee smell from asparagus. The first is not everybody's pee smells when they eat asparagus. So that's
Right.
one. But the
That's one.
second, now this one is fascinating, is not everybody can smell the difference in their pee. So you may
Really?
not register it.
So you have to hit a lot of, basically the genetic lottery to be able to change the smell of your, notice that you change the smell of your pee when you eat asparagus.
That's exactly right. And I have a good friend who cannot smell the asparagus smell of his pee. And I have peed in a urinal directly after him, and I have smelt his asparagus urine and said to him, "Oh man, all that asparagus we've been eating really came through." And he said, "I don't know what you're talking about." Isn't that like so sad? And I lorded over him like this is a superpower I have that he does not have.
Gosh, guess how many situations he's been in where, people smelled his asparagus and people were like, "Have asparagus today?" He was clueless as to how they knew.
How do they know that?
That's amazing.
Well, anyway,
What-
as far as I know, the Yemeni Zhoug does not change the smell of your pee, but it certainly changes your outlook on life because a little hit of Zhoug puts me in a good mood. It doesn't quite rhyme, but a little Zhoug puts you in a good mood. Is something that I could probably sell to a client in a meeting.
Yeah, well, we should figure out who is the number one supplier of Zhoug, and we should get on that.
So Ryan, all this talk of Zhoug makes me realize we really gotta close up shop here. So why don't you tell us what we're talking about next week?
So next week we are talking about everything translation. That's from translation apps and tools that you can use to the benefits or the disadvantages of hiring a translator when you actually travel. So I'm excited to help our listeners keep from being lost in translation.
Oh my God.
That's a
we're
good
probably going to have to call it that now, huh?
Well, I think we got to call it something like that.
I have a great idea, which is maybe to help you stick to your resolution.
Right.
You should do the entire opening of the show next time in Espanol. That's gonna be muy divertido.
That will be muy bien because I have to learn how to say some of these words like out of office and travel and podcast. And I know hi.
It
So I can be like,
might well.
Hola. Soy Ryan Davis.
Exactly. It may be that podcast is the same. We're gonna have to do a little research on that because they do call it El Internet. When I was taking Spanish, they taught it as El Red, but that is not actually used anymore. Yeah.
I've never heard that in El Red.
Well, and we all know that you keep the keys of the Spanish language. So tune in next time to hear Ryan introduce us in Spanish, and we will talk translation.
All right. Well, until then, I'm Ryan Davis.
Mi nombre es Kiernan.
And this is Out of Office, a travel podcast.
Hasta luego.
Is this seat taken?